signs in the sun, moon, and stars. Here we are, family, back on Stellarium. To all those who made it possible for me to get to this point, you know who you are. Thank you and many blessings. It's been a struggle. I know everyone out there watching has probably been facing their own struggles. But boy, oh boy, have I been through the ringer. But we're back in a hotel, able to get online and search the stars. What we're looking at here in Stellarium is the constellation of Aquarius, the water bearer. And we have a couple signs to go over that are happening today and tomorrow. And for those of you who do not know, tomorrow through the 16th is a very high watch for me, as the 14th of March is the 13th of Adar on the celestial gospel calendar. And for those of you who know the story in Esther, the 13th of Adar is when the Jews were supposed to be attacked by Haman's men. And that's when the decree went forward. And the following 2 days in history are considered Purim. And those 2 days are a remembrance of what the king did for his bride, and how the bride had to go in to the temple where the king was in order to save her people. And for those of you who've been following the channel for a while, and you've been here through springtime and early summer, when I was doing videos on the ancient Israelite wedding customs, and we were looking at the Esther codes, and we were breaking down the betrothal sign. If you have not seen those videos and you're a new subscriber, I would suggest going back, taking the time to look back into my videos in the springtime and summer, early summer, when the Father gave me that sign. And as far as I understand, nobody else has presented that before ever. And I believe that it is still in play right now. And what we are about to witness is the Purim codes being finalized. I believe that we are on the precipice of seeing a great change between essentially tonight and April the 1st or 2nd. And I'm going to do a follow-up video on the portals in the MAZZAROTH. For those of you who do not understand what that is, you would need to study the book of Enoch and many of the other Dead Sea Scrolls that go into the understanding of Enoch's calendars. And for those of you who have done your research into the Book of Enoch and Enochian time, hopefully you've gone far enough in your research to understand that there are 3 Enoch calendars. And I believe this is where the confusion comes in between all the different groups, because you're all right, but you're all wrong. And sorry I had to say it this way, but when you have a piece of the truth, but not the entire fullness of the truth, then you're still existing in shadows, because you're not in the full light. And in order to understand how Enoch time works, you have to know the MAZZAROTH, because everything that he did in those 3 calendars is based on MAZZAROTH. What I mean by MAZZAROTH is the study of how the stars and the sun and the moon tell the story of redemption. It is the Bible before the Bible was ever written. Please go and do your research, and you will find that the Bible is, in a measure of time, new. But this is the most ancient story of the Messiah, the Father, the Spirit, the children, the angels. It tells the entire story in far more depth than can ever be written in words. What I have learned in the MAZZAROTH is what has brought the scriptures alive, not the opposite. The truth of what we need to know as watchmen is in the stars. It was placed there thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago for us to have a unchangeable way of understanding what's going on. And when I say unchangeable, you can make up the story and you can confuse the story, but the story still exists. And I believe that the Father has used certain people, certain tribes, certain sects, certain cultures to preserve bits and pieces of this ancient story without them even knowing it, because the enemy uses truth to masquerade his deception, and he's always going to use truth to bring in a lie. And when you know the truth and the Spirit reveals the hidden messages, because it's all glory to the Spirit who opens your eyes and awakens you to revelation and shows you the things that you need to see, because you're searching. And if you're not searching, you're not going to get the messages in most cases. There are those people who the Father decides that they need a wake-up call, and sometimes these things can come to them when they are completely living in sin. But it is those of us who are seeking and allowing the Spirit to change us each day that are truly getting these revelations in this time. So what we have is an ancient story that in the ancient times they knew far better than our culture today. It sort of shocks me on how little the majority of the church, or at least the so-called church, knows about these things. They don't understand them. They believe that somehow this is all satanic or some kind of trick, and that they're not to look into it, they're not to partake in understanding these things, and I don't even understand it. When I was a child, I was introduced to the stars and the planets. My grandfather was part of an observatory here in Southern California, and I got the chance to go up multiple times to the observatory, and it from that point forward, I believe my whole life was changed because of what I saw and because of what I understood as a child about the equipment being used to view these stars. And it's always been part of my life, doing research into why the stars are there, what's going on out there in the heavens. And that search is what brought me to this work, because this is truly a daily work. It takes years and years and years to gain even a small amount of understanding. And after over 20 years of being led to this work, it's allowed me to have a complete different perspective of Scripture than the majority of the people that I know. And this understanding has allowed me to unlock some codes. And everything in the stars are codes. And the Enochian time, if you look at the wheels within wheels, we're talking about Ezekiel here. What he was seeing there is the MAZZAROTH wheels. And they are wheels within wheels because there's 3 of them. We have the moon cycle through the MAZZAROTH. And anybody can go and track that and watch exactly how that goes down and how many days it takes. They have everything calculated. This is the beauty of stellarium. We can use stellarium to track everything that's going on in the MAZZAROTH. We can go back thousands of years, we can go forward thousands of years, and we can track what these signs were showing us. And if you have an understanding, even a basic understanding of this storyline, will allow you to start to see the Scriptures in a whole new light. And in the fall of 2017, during the Revelation 12 sign, a lot of people woke up to the signs in the heavens. And at the same time, a lot of people were let down, so to say, because they were told that the rapture was going to happen at that time. And many of us watchmen who knew that what Scotty Clark had found was right and was right on, we were very excited, and we were looking forward to that date. Now, I didn't believe that that was the rapture, because there were more pieces of the puzzle that weren't there. There was other things that had to happen that had not happened, signs that were not fulfilled, things that had to go down. And my understanding of escape and rapture are different than most in the churches. I don't believe that they are the same event. I believe that the rapture is actually for the churches, and that there is a time before that that is called the escape of the bride. And the bride is the called out ones that are associated with the moon. And moon time on the Enochian wheel is different than sun time. And we can see that also as an entire separate wheel. Just like when you have in Central America and South America with their wheeled time systems, this is exactly where all of that comes from, is tracking the moon, tracking the sun, and then also you can do the same thing with the stars. And this is where we get the 364-day Enoch calendar, the star calendar. But the moon calendar is 354 days. And the sun calendar is 365.25 days. And we can track all of that digitally now. We can see exactly how everything is moving through the heavens. And this way of understanding time is completely different than a strictly sun calendar, a strictly moon calendar, or a strictly star calendar. There has to be things that align. And when we're talking about portals, the portals are the alignments of the quarters. And in ancient time, if you've done any kind of research into ancient cultures, and that's my specialty, is for 30 years, I have been studying ancient cultures, ancient religions, ancient understanding of religion with the stars, and how all of these stories that we see in mythology are actually star stories. And I do not believe that the majority of people are awake to that or can see that. They just call it pagan idolatry, and they don't understand that these are not actual beings here that were on Earth, but these are the story of the stars and the angels and the battles that went on in heaven, and not here in this earthly dimension or plane of existence. We're talking about a different dimension, a heavenly dimension. And what we see as the stars is only a shadow of what we will see in heaven, because these are, in most cases, actual living entities, and they're part of the host, and the host is giving us the message, and it has been for thousands and thousands of years. This doesn't change. And that's the beauty of this understanding, is that this is unchangeable. And Aquarius, being the water bearer, is a sign of Messiah, who at his foot is the fish. And in the ancient picture of Aquarius, the water is actually going down over the fish. And without the water, the fish doesn't live. If the fish didn't have the water, it would be dead. And so Aquarius was associated with the fish. And we're going to look at a study in the next video. We're going to take a little bit deeper of a dive in the next piece. But just understand that in order to truly know what we're seeing in this MAZZAROTH, or this story, or this Bible, we have to understand that there are three things that we need to take into consideration: sun time, moon time, and star time. And when they come into conjunction, and when all the pieces of the puzzle fit, then we know we're on to something. And with the celestial gospel calendar, I believe I was given a time tracking method that is all based on ancient Israelite customs of tracking time. Before the Exodus, in the ancient times, it was different. And that's what I was given. It wasn't to displace, or for me to say that this calendar or that calendar are wrong. That's not what it's for. I believe that the creator of everything holds all things in his hands, and can use whatever he wishes to bring forth the message. And if we're wise servants, we'll be able to pick up that message and not judge the messenger. And I think that's one of the biggest problems with our society. I've been guilty of it in the past, is thinking because because our truth is more complete, that that the other person can't have any truth at all. And there's nothing further from the truth. The enemy can be used, and is used, to bring forth just as much of the message as the people who are doing good. And it blows my mind at how the people who think they're doing evil works, witchcraft, how easily they're led to bring forth messages because of that equation of them using the truth, and how easy it is for us with eyes to see to pick out the message and gain a full understanding of what the enemy's plans are. And he's easy to spot, and easy to see his corruptions. And when you can gain that perspective of being able to see these messages in the heavens, you can understand what's going on in time. And it's getting very exciting right now, because we see Mercury in Aquarius, and Mercury is the messenger. So we're getting a message here in Aquarius. And we also see something else very, very interesting, and this is going down tonight. Let's get in here a little closer. And what we're going to witness here is in Aquarius. Let's go in a little closer. And it's Excuse me while I get this alignment done. It's really hard to do this in this format and get it close enough. But what we're witnessing here is in the constellation of Aquarius is Venus and Neptune. And this is tonight at 2100 hour, which will be 9 p.m. here on the West Coast. And we're looking at the constellation of Aquarius with Venus and Neptune aligning in the constellation just beneath the sun and the moon in its dark phase. This is a great sign. We're going to go here really quick and show you part of the study that we're going to come back and do. But we're going to show you here. Let's make this a little bigger. Okay. So hopefully you can see this. Excuse me while I get this pulled up. So we have Aquarius, and Neptune is part of the sign, and it means expanded, spread out as water. And we have Isaiah 41:18 as a side note, an attachment, something that's associated. Isaiah 41:18, King James Version, I will open rivers in high places and fountains in the midst of the valleys. I will make the wilderness a pool of water and the dry land springs of water.